Welcome to the IVM Podcast Network.
TFG Football is an IVM production, and you can also check out their other awesome shows like Geek Fruit with fellow and television geeks Tejas, Jishnu and Dinkar as they discuss the world of science fiction and nerd culture.
You're listening to TFG Football.
Hey everyone, welcome to the new episode of TFG Football. This is the Indian Football Podcast, and joining me via Skype is Chiranjit Oja, my friend and colleague. He's getting you some hot details from the merger. And there was a recent meeting that happened between the East Bengal and Mohun Bagan officials. Now, yes, they did come together, on very rare occasions. On very rare occasion, you find these two names being taken together, working towards something. And yes, it is the merger talks. And since they hold a lot of importance to be part of the newly merged league, so there was this meeting that happened between both the team club officials and the IFA. So a lot of things coming out of this, and Chiranjit is here to talk about this.
Yeah, well, you talked about how rarely they come together, East Bengal and Mohun Bagan. Usually you hear this on the 27th July Memorial Day, where they come together to mourn the lives of people who died in 1980 during a Kolkata derby, or sometimes you hear stories of an East Bengal fan or a Mohun Bagan fan, is in dire need of treatment, needs money, and often we see East Bengal and Mohun Bagan fans coming together and, just raising money to help them out. That happens from time to time, but it's on an official level. East Bengal and Mohun Bagan working together towards a shared goal is very, very rare, and they're lucky to have Subrata Datta by their side. Subrata Datta is a AIFF senior vice president. He's also the president of the Indian Football Association, which is the governing body of football in West Bengal. Yeah. So they have chosen Subrata Datta as their spokesperson in the deal that they're trying to work out with IMG Reliance in terms of, after restructuring the leagues, Aizawl will be the new top division, and under what terms East Bengal and Mohun Bagan will come in into the new league and play as Aizawl franchises. So, yeah, we remember, when the story started breaking out, the process started about a couple of months ago, and we said, look, we're going to hear some outrageous stuff at the beginning. Each team will each side will make outrageous demands, which is completely in their own favor. Slowly they will try to work it out through negotiations. Back and forth will happen, and in the end we will see a balance emerging towards the end of the process, which I don't expect this thing to get over by June, so we still have a good couple of months to go. And the latest development is that a lot of ground has been made. When the first thing happened, it was like, so Aizawl went to them and said, look, you have to come in and play like other Aizawl franchises. Like, you have to have a 30 crore annual budget, and since you can't raise that money on your own and you can't get a sponsor who can give you that much money per season, so let us get the sponsors for you, and in return we want some structural changes within the club, like there will be a new board made to run the executive decisions regarding the football team. 10 people will be there, 5 of them will be represented by the sponsors, 3 will be from the clubs, and there will be 2 neutral ones. And the neutral ones are tricky because Aizawl can put their own people in, like they're doing with AIFF. Right. So this is how this roundabout takeover of clubs and the leagues and the federation that IMG Reliance are going about. Obviously, that was the first proposal, and they wanted a 30-year contract. With the Aizawl, which pretty much meant that the East Bengal and Mohun Bagan officials were practically handing over their own control over the club to the sponsors, and by extension IMG Reliance and Aizawl for the rest of their lifetimes. The existing officials will probably be dead by the time that contract ran out. So obviously that was a one-sided proposal from their part. These guys came out and said no, we will not hear and abide by any of these terms. We will control our own intellectual property. I think that was basically a scapegoat argument. They said, IMG Reliance made put a clause in there that said our logos and our jersey colors can be changed by the will of the sponsors. I don't think they wanted to change, because IMG Reliance are not stupid. They want to bank on the East Bengal Mohun Bagan brand names, but they wanted the sponsors who will put in the money to have all the rights to use the intellectual property for their own profiting, right? So that's what they wanted to do, but obviously East Bengal and Mohun Bagan officials were not on board with that. And what followed was back and forth discussion. Then we heard the new term said, okay, it's not 30 years, it's going to be 15 years, the new contract. So they are, IMG Reliance were slowly softening their stance, and Mohun Bagan and East Bengal were also coming on board with some of the terms, and then back and forth continued. And the latest development is that yesterday, there was a meeting between IFA, led by Subrata Datta, and East Bengal and Mohun Bagan officials. So now East Bengal and Mohun Bagan are putting forward their next set of demands. Okay, they have conceded some, and they have made bold stances on some of the aspects. So now they're saying it will be a 5-year contract, which I think ISL will more or less agree with. They are also asking for the franchisee fees to be waived off for those 5 years.
What basis is that?
What basis meaning?
As in, what grounds are they saying the franchisee fee to be waived off?
Well, there are instances of franchisee fees being waived off. I think we discussed in yesterday's show. In 2015, IMG Reliance waived off franchisee fee from all the ISL franchises. So they wanted to be waived off by saying, like, okay, we have been around, we are deserving top division clubs who have performed in this level and international level in representing Indian football for years and years. So basically they are holding ISL's feet to the fire, because they know that if ISL wants to be the top division, ISL wants to be seen as the top division, they can't do that without having clubs like East Bengal, Mohun Bagan and Bengaluru FC.
I think what happens is they get name, they get publicity to ISL. It's not that it's completely impossible to do without East Bengal and Mohun Bagan, but it gives them a good start.
Yeah, it gives them, and let's not forget that the Kolkata derby is still the biggest thing about Indian football. It's still the single biggest fixture that we have in Indian football, and even ISL final does not match up to it.
And it's actually it's technically the only derby.
It's the only derby that we have going on at this high level, So all of that being taken into account, ISL wants East Bengal and Mohun Bagan to come on board. Mohun Bagan and East Bengal want to get into ISL because that's where the money is going to be. But see, waiving off franchisee fees, I think that's a posturing on their part. I think they will agree to a lesser franchisee fee, and that's how you negotiate. ISL comes and says 15 crores franchisee fee per season. These guys say, okay, we won't pay any franchisee fee. And then there will be some back and forth, and in the end they'll agree to like 5-6 crores per season. So everybody will do that, thoda tolmol. It's like buying vegetables from the market.
So then, the first negotiation put forward strongly was the waiving of the franchisee fee for both Mohun Bagan and East Bengal. So that can we conclude that?
Yeah. So this is what they have actually stayed at. Because original position of ISL was 15 crores, these guys said 0. Then I think the next one said thoda less, and these guys again said 0. So maybe when it will be even lesser from ISL's part, they will say, yeah, okay, maybe. So all that will happen. But the major structural difference in this proposal is that East Bengal and Mohun Bagan have suddenly started talking about Aizawl FC. Okay. And they're saying, look at Aizawl FC. Their first team budget is like 3 crores. Okay, and they took on teams with budgets like 15-16 crores, like East Bengal, Mohun Bagan, and Bengaluru FC, and they are about to become champions. So if they can do that with teams that are 5 times more expensive than theirs, why can't we, with a 15 crore budget, take on a team with 30 crore budget in ISL?
Now this sounds like a very selfish, point put forward. Very selfish.
It is. But look, either way, having a category like having a criteria like you have to put in 30 crores, otherwise you can't field a team. On footballing standards, it's very absurd, because world football is filled with examples of how financially underdog teams consistently dominate financially richer teams. Like throughout when the Arsenal were making the new Emirates Stadium, they had a significantly lesser budget than even teams like Tottenham Hotspurs or Chelsea, and so often they finished above them in the league, right? And won quite a few matches. And it's not even about like how they got more money and finished above the table from them. It's that they were consistently able to be competitive with those teams. So having a lesser budget is not really a grounds of saying, okay, you have less money, so you should not pay because you can't be competitive. It's a very dumb argument in the first place. But where this becomes selfish is that they are trying to put forward this argument citing Aizawl FC, that, okay, look, they can do it with less money, we can do it too. At the same time, have you heard either East Bengal, Mohun Bagan or Bengaluru FC say a word about Aizawl FC potentially winning the league but still getting relegated?
Yeah.
They did not support the Goan clubs when they were trying to fight the forced relegation imposed by the merger. They said nothing when Royal Windhoe Pune FC pulled out, and they are not saying anything when clubs like Shillong Lajong and DSK Shivajiyans are more or less accepting relegation despite not deserving it, and they are not saying anything when Robert Royte is saying like, you should not relegate us and I will go to court if you do that to us. Yeah, and so why is it not hypocritical to cite Aizawl FC as a shining example of success, at the same time throwing them under the bus when it comes to negotiating I-League clubs' place in the new revamped top division league? It is
very much hypocritical on both East Bengal and Mohun Bagan side. On one side, they talk about legacy, they talk about all the contribution that they've given to Indian football, and forget that this latest development is going to take football in a long way. But you forget that also your competition is being cut off if you really don't have them in the top flight. So it's making their path easy at the expense of smaller clubs like Aizawl, and even
and if you're talking about contribution to Indian football, East Bengal and Mohun Bagan have done that for almost 100 years, but Aizawl FC have also done a lot. Shillong Lajong have done a lot. If you're talking about your contribution and that being a criteria for a place in the new top division, these clubs also have a huge claim in the same manner. And Aizawl FC are about to be champions. Even if they don't win the league, they deserve to be in the top division because they earned their place. They showed how much they can do even with limited resources.
And it's not this year that they've come up. It's the last year as well. When they were forcefully relegated, even though technically they were not the last place, the team, and they showed
weird rules. DSK Shivajiyans were the bottom team. Still, Aizawl FC, they get relegated because DSK Shivajiyans are immune. That's a weird rule in the first place. But let's say they got relegated, but you brought them back, and now they have won the league, and like they are about to win the league. Maybe they will win the league. I don't know. And there's a chance Mohun Bagan will take it. But even if it doesn't matter if they take it or not, they have shown they can be competitive in the top division. Okay, and there's another factor that will happen. There's a good chance that the number of foreigners in the teams will come down from 10 to 5. Okay, and if that happens,
But
All these ISL teams,
don't you think that violates the AFC rules, having 4 foreigners in the squad?
You can ask for some extra, like Chinese Super League has 5. Right, and I think even A-League has 5. So you can ask them to have a little bit extra, and it should not be like completely disproportionate. Like ISL, when it started, it had like 12, 13 foreigners in every squad. Okay, that's completely ridiculous. It has no parity with the system placed in the continent, and they could do it because they're private tournaments. They don't need to ask anybody. Now that they will become top division, they will have to arrive at a balance, because look, people, the teams that will play in ISL will also go on to play in AFC Cup and AFC Champions League, and they cannot have complete different squads. If you have 10 foreigners in domestic competition, and you can register only 4 foreigners in the Asian competition, your ass will get kicked, because your team will be completely different. You'll have to field players who have very little practice, competitive match practice during the season, and it will put India at a disadvantage. So keeping all that in mind, you will have to bring that number down. Ideally it should be 4, but if they want, they can have 5. Okay, and I think that's where it will go. And the franchises want it because they are spending too much money on foreigners. Okay, and if now that if their budget is 30 crores, you just cut down the number of foreigners, it will go down to like 20 to 23 crores, right? And when that happens, that's not very different from how much they have a budget in I-League. 15 to 22 is not a huge difference. That almost puts them in the same level as I-League teams. And East Bengal and Mohun Bagan believe that if they are allowed to field a team with like a 15-16 crore budget, they will be able to get the sponsors on their own.
Yeah.
Okay. I think they already have had some negotiations where they were offered that much money, but they held out because they knew ISL needs a bigger budget. Yeah, if they can get the sponsors on their own, that means they don't have to abide by any of those particular intellectual property rules or restructure your governing body rules. Any of that, all of that will go out of the window. They can just be the way they are and operate and field their own team. So if that goes through, and I don't really think it's that bad of a proposal, that will solve all the problems, and it may even encourage other teams to field cheaper teams, but try to follow their example and try to be more competitive with local players, because that's a transition ISL teams will have to make if they have to be effective in a real league and also have Asian ambitions. You have to have Indian players at the forefront of your team, which does not happen in ISL. You have 6 foreigners on the pitch and 10 in the squad. So hopefully this proves to be a little bit pursuant, but you cannot but marvel at the amount of selfishness displayed by East Bengal and Mohun Bagan by saying, Aizawl FC is a great example, but not saying anything when they get forcefully relegated.
The unity that is required between clubs was absent, and that is what AIFF took advantage of when you had the stronger opinion teams putting out their voices, and they were subdued. That was actually not the fault of the clubs themselves. It was the fellow club members, the fellow clubs in India that really didn't speak out or didn't come out in support of these clubs. They knew that competition is going out of the league, and that's where they kept silent. And we see that being affected. Aizawl also getting that getting the brunt of it. Because it's the same
Aizawl
story.
And Shillong Lajong.
Yeah, even Shillong Lajong for that matter. So it really is serving like, if you don't speak up for your own, it's going to be in the hands of someone else. You don't want to do that.
Yeah, it's everybody on their own against when it comes to restructuring. East Bengal and Mohun Bagan have a common interest, so they banded together. Bengal FC have their shit sorted, so they are not saying anything. They're staying out of the whole controversy, and they're just doing their own negotiations with IMG Reliance. They will have no problem at all coming into ISL. the others are left alone because the heavyweights are only minding their own business and they're not standing up for anybody else. They don't care for anybody else. So that's the situation we are in. And sadly, this will also contribute to clubs dying.
Yeah.
If Mumbai FC dies, or other clubs lose their ability, their current quality when they get forcefully relegated, it will be on these clubs as well. These I-League clubs who just looked out for themselves and not for their fellow competitors.
All right, so there we have it, and it's all out in the open. And what we did speak on this podcast is also available via an article that Chiranjit has put up on thefangarage.com. Do give it a read and let us know via comments. You can talk to us on Twitter via the handle that is the TFG Football, and also on the YouTube channel via comments on the TFG Podcast. That's the channel name. And do download IVM Podcast app. It's available on Android and iOS, and you can also listen to this podcast on major podcasting apps like SoundCloud, Audioboom, Stitcher, etc. Do hit the like, share and subscribe button, and do let us know via comments. We will catch you soon.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is your captain speaking. Sorry to say, but there's been a slight delay due to the apocalypse having suddenly begun. As you can see, there's death, destruction and chaos taking place all around us. But don't you worry, food and drinks will be served shortly, and I would recommend checking out
IVM Podcasts
to get some of your favorite Indian podcasts. We'll keep you going till this whole thing blows over. Thank you.